You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 40. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I'm your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people. How are you all doing? I wish to send lots of support to all my Australian listeners currently affected by lockdowns, homeschooling, business or personal challenges. I hope that you are taking care of yourself first. That's what I did last week. Being a single mom, having to do homeschooling whilst holding a job and having a business, having no family here to help me, and let me add, being very holiday deprived, it's been 2 years, all of this made the last month really difficult for me. And I watched my mental and emotional health going down week on week. The only things giving to me were my client sessions, this podcast, and my daily walks. Everything else was just taking from me, was draining me every single day a little more. And I reached a point where I was so mentally and emotionally depleted that I felt I had nothing left to give. I couldn't return messages. I could not even think about anyone else. So that night, I just sat myself in front of the TV for a few hours and I just did nothing and recharged away from the world. And then I made a decision about my daughter's homeschooling to ease my load. I had to make peace with it. I had to deal with some guilt and accept to let go where I wanted things to be a certain way. But something had to give. And I'll tell you what, I had an amazing week as a result. My energy bounced back and everybody was better off. My daughter, myself, and my friends that I can now be here for. So see if you are at such a point where you know you're getting lower week on week, and then pause. Pause for a minute. Stop and reflect on what decision needs to be made in your heart. I want you to see it, to accept it, and to follow through with it. It's okay abandoning some pursuits for the time being. It's okay dropping your high standards when you are not feeling well enough to keep them up. It's going to be okay, I promise you, if you listen to yourself and your body and do what's required for you. So this was a little intro about my week, but I think it ties in very nicely with today's topic. I know we are only in September, and traditionally I like to reflect on the year that was at the end of it, but not this time, because I believe what this year is teaching all of us is already here, and we have the opportunity over the next few months ahead of us to act upon it. And I want to give you a heads up that I have a new offer for you to help you precisely with the next few months. So stay tuned until the end of the episode. Everything happening in life is pretty much a lesson that I have learned. A 2-year pandemic is certainly a huge one. I know many of us would have liked this year to go back to normal and only treat 2020 as the black year we would want to erase from our memories. But 2021 has brought so far another full set of challenges. So we have two choices: either despairing at the ongoing nature of the challenges and the lack of what we crave, travel, holidays, social life. This will only keep us in a state of frustration and depression, frankly. Or we can dig deeper and deeper and ask ourselves, where are we at? How can we evolve in this situation? What is within our control? And how can we give to ourselves, considering the external world is pretty bad at lending a hand at the moment? I ask myself a lot, what is all of this for? Why is this happening? I try to make sense of it. rather than resist it and kick and scream against it, which is frankly a nice temptation. I believe this year is the continuation of last year and is meant to teach us to look within our lives, within ourselves, to dig deep and to make some changes. Are you with me? Let's dive into this. Firstly, let me ask you this. Have you yourself experienced some changes since the start of the pandemic? Have you lost your job or found a new one? Has your career taken on a new turn? Have you gotten married or started having children? Did you get a pet? Did you move homes? Did you reconcile with an old friend or a distant relative? Did you leave a romantic relationship or some friendships? Did you change financial situation? Also look around within your circles of friends and family. What changes have taken place for them? I bet you will find many examples. You see, those things happen all the time, pandemic or not. But I believe that we have seen an acceleration of changes over the past 12 months, especially when it comes to letting go of what wasn't working, what wasn't right. So I'm going to be very generalist here, but I'm going to put everybody into 3 categories. Those that have experienced change already, those right in the midst of it, and those not affected by change. And I'm going to go through each of them and give you my perspective and a set of questions to ask yourself if that category is relevant for you. So firstly, if you have experienced change, let me ask you to remember what brought it on. What feelings, what behaviors made you stop and decide to change something? It was probably a lot of pain, too much of it at a certain point. Or it was circumstances that shook you first, but then you were able to think on your feet and make the most of them. So you've changed the job, your relationship status, where you live, how you spend your time. Maybe you've quit smoking or changed your diet also. It is likely that you are still partially in the change process, which could involve some grief, some healing, some acceptance, releasing some anger. If I go by my own example, some of you may know that I got separated last year after a 15-year-long relationship. If you haven't heard and if you want the backstory, go and check out episode number 19, where I talk you through exactly that whole change process in my personal life. So this year is teaching me so much on the process of grief, of releasing, of dealing with new emotions, new truth about myself, a new balance of my days, of my energy. It is unfolding and unfolding. I will do an episode at the end of the year to summarize all this process. So if you have changed, give yourself the gift of time to process it all. Let it unfold and unfold. Give yourself time to sit with this new outfit in that part of your life. And give yourself the grace to adjust and to wear it in. And I massively want to cheer you on because you've made a brave choice. You took on a courageous decision in very difficult and uncertain times. So for those of you who have changed, here are some questions to ponder. How was the past leading to this year amounting to this change? How can you see it in retrospect? What was preparing you for it? What do you still need to release or heal? What support do you need there? Is the change working? How much better is your career, life, or relationships, depending on what you changed? Beyond the external transformation, what inner transformation has taken place as a result within you? Who are you now that you were not a year ago? And finally, how can you inspire, support, and help others to change? Where can you lead by example? How can you share what you've learned? Who can benefit from what you have achieved? So for those of you that have changed, I really want to congratulate you for showing up for the change, for responding positively, and carrying through. And then I just want to invite you to let the rest of the change process unfold, because it's likely to take quite some time, and see all the impact that it has on all areas of your life, and be really comfortable with all that process, and then see how you can inspire others to do the same. Now, moving on to the second category, those of us who are right in the transition phase, considering change, planning change, reflecting on the next decision. If you are here, I feel you, I see you. I see it in my clients every week. It's a mix of beauty and hardship. Beauty because you are raising to meet your potential, you challenge the status quo, and you are bravely ready to look into a new reality in one area of your life. It also is about hardship because you are feeling discomfort. Your fears are on high alert. You worry about the outcomes, and you still have to bear the current load of the pandemic. It can feel like the hardest time of your life. You question more and more what you believed a year or two ago, and others around you are not helpful because they are stuck in their own problems and situations, not mentally available to help. So it can be very lonesome, it can be painful, and really feel like a massive stretch of your inner strength and resilience muscle. You could be looking at a career change, returning to work after a career break, stepping away from work to pursue other values. You could be tackling head-on a personal issue that has been affecting you for years that you are no longer ready to put up with. Maybe you are so overloaded, so overworked that you have no other choice than to rethink what's on your plate and what you want to be doing in your life. Maybe you are rethinking how a specific person or company is treating you. Maybe you are cutting some people off from your life who don't understand you or try to hang on to you. It could also be an adjacent circumstance in your life that makes you rethink your role or your path, for instance, with your kids or partners. Or you have to move homes. Or you might be planning new training, new study. You might be starting a new business. Most of my friends, and definitely all of my clients, fit in this category. The question is, if this is you too, are you aware of it? Do you realize that things are not working anymore? Do you tune in and hear the signal deep down within you? Are you reading the message on the wall? Our normal reaction as human beings will be to avoid change at all costs. So we will hide from it, deny it, resist it, try to push it until later, right? But it always comes back front and center when it needs to be dealt with. And that's why it's usually the pain that motivates us to change. And there's this beautiful quote from Anais Nin on that. She says, "And the day came when the risk to remain tied in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." Does this resonate with you? Are you feeling like this person so tight in a bud that you are suffocating, so depleted you can no longer live like this, so eaten up by stress or worries that you can't enjoy your days? I really believe those who are quote-unquote stuck in this pathway of change, in this tunnel from one state to another, are doing exactly what they're meant to be doing this year. Good on you. Yes, it is very hard, but soon you will see the light at the end and it will be so amazingly worthwhile. Here are some questions for you to ponder. Are you clear on what you want? It's often the case that we're clear on what doesn't work, but we can remain vague on what's next. So this work is very important, or we will remain stuck for some time, or end up in a place that is no better. What support do you need? Mental, emotional? Do you need the guidance of a coach? Do you need to work through some past issues with a therapist? Do you need help at home or at work whilst you work on this? What is still going well for you right now? How can you enjoy more of that? What will your life be like at the other end once you complete this change? That is a perspective that will get you through those challenging times. Bask in the future feelings of having what you want, of being in a much better situation. Give yourself this in advance in your head. It will give you courage and the drive to take the actions required. Again, this isn't a fast process. Some of us might be in a hurry to get there, to the other side. But in my experience, change takes some proper thinking, some space, some maturation, a bit like good wine. So you have to hang in there, endure the in-between for it to unfold as naturally and beautifully as it's supposed to be. If you try to rush things, you will stop the natural flow of realignment in your life. Instead, watch carefully for the hints, for the pieces of information, the people or opportunities that will start popping into your life in that phase. Now moving on to the third category, those of us for whom life has stayed the same. We haven't experienced change or felt the need to over the last year. Life is as normal for us, except for the external circumstances of the pandemic. To you, I will ask this simple question, which requires a very honest answer, and that's the less easy part. How satisfied are you with all aspects of your life? How do you feel when you wake up and go to bed? What are your most dominant feelings every day? If you tell me you feel content, fulfilled, happy enough, able to give to others, smiling, grateful, then I will say amazing. This is the place we all want to be in, change or not. What do you think of most of the actions that you take every day? If you are proud of your actions and of your results, then good on you, my friend. You are living your best life right now. And maybe you can help someone in need who is dealing with some change at the moment. On the other hand, if you answer that your feelings every day have more to do with pessimism, impatience, frustration, doubt, worry, blame, jealousy, insecurity, maybe even despair, then I will say that these are indicators change is needed. If your habits or daily behaviors are not something you're proud of, this means the higher version of yourself is ready to step up and to realign things to work better for you. It can be very tricky and very uncomfortable to tell ourselves the truth. What is not working and what needs to change. So we can pretend very convincingly to ourselves and to our close ones that we are all okay and nothing needs to change. In other words, we can prefer to stay tight in the butt and keep engrossing in there. We can keep avoiding looking at how we are feeling on a daily basis. We can indulge in behaviors to numb our bad feelings and to carry on day after day. We totally can. And that is our choice and frankly our freedom. But the difference here in this category is that we typically tend to not make a conscious decision. We make an unconscious one to continue and to replicate what we know. It takes guts, granted, to call out your own self on a specific behavior or part of your life that is not working. Stepping from the unconscious to the fully conscious version of yourself that sees things and calls them for what they are. You can choose to do this anytime. Like right now after listening to this podcast, you just say it to yourself. You call yourself on it. What you don't want is not showing up for your true life and hide in the background of it, letting it unfold. Not being the main thinker of it and simply letting it happen to you. The pandemic is the harshest thing to teach us what happens to us. Don't we know about it? We can all be victims all day long, because we truly are victims. But you don't have to be the victim in your own life. On the contrary, pandemic or not, you can rise to meet the higher version of yourself that is waiting for you, that has been shushed for years and has not been heard or seen very much. That part of you that is crushed by the power of your habits, your self-protection mechanism, and ultimately your fears. I know you know. You know what feels bad inside, what creates distress and agitation in your heart. You've been living with it for a while, for ages maybe, and it's getting harder and harder. And frankly, if you don't start looking at it, it will only get tighter in that uncomfortable bud. So if this is you, here are some questions for you to ponder. What am I done with? What am I ready to remove from my life? What is keeping me sick or unhappy? What am I afraid of? What am I doing to cover this up, to escape it? How do I deal with the negative feelings there? What are all the beliefs I have about this not being possible or not being able to change? And finally, if anything was possible, what would I want? So you just start there with those questions and those baby steps. We all have different timelines of change. Our timing always comes when it's right. So don't compare yourself to anyone on this journey. Instead, this is all about being in touch and connecting with the truth for yourself. So we have dived into what this year is teaching us, and it's teaching us some form of change. And hopefully by now you can think and reflect on which category you fit in. And I'm not here to say to you, you should change. If you're not in the change category, if you're in that third category, if you have those good feelings, then nothing needs to change. But you will be guided by your feelings. Your feelings, if you are ready for change and are not doing it, will be quite negative, and you're just putting up with them day after day. Once you embark on the change process, when you're in that second category, the feelings, the bad feelings don't go away. They just shift and morph into more fear around the actions that you're taking and the results and the outcome and the fact that you are living kind of safe land. You're living safety land, what you know, what is familiar, and you wonder whether you've made the right decision. Your feelings really only improve once you get to that other side of that second category, moving towards changing, which is the third. So we all go through them. In my experience this year, and based on last year as well, most of us are going through this change, but you're going through it at your own pace, and you may be in any of those three categories. And I'm hoping that today's episode can give you the right coaching support with those questions to know what you need to think about for each of those phases. You probably also experience micro changes on a much smaller basis when you go through these steps. You know, you identify where change is needed, you go through the uncomfortable process, and then you experience a different reality. I feel like this year is teaching us the change process on steroids. Then the more you practice this cycle of identifying, accepting and releasing, taking new action, seeing a different result, the quicker you get at it and the less you fear it. So it becomes like little change loops, always running around, operating in your life. A lot of it has to do with letting go of the current situation or letting go of an old version of ourselves, and that is the cornerstone of it. We need to do this in order to move forward, to release something that's not working, get something better in our lives, and make space for that new thing. Doing that, releasing, letting go, feels like the less intuitive and the least comfortable thing to do. yet it is the pathway to feel better. To take this conversation further, make sure you ask yourself the questions relevant to your situation. If you've changed, you're currently changing, or you're not changing. And just write down, journal on the responses. See what comes up. And as I announced at the beginning of this show, I have something new for you to support you in this process. I'm opening new spaces for a special life coaching offer. I know how many of us are currently struggling out there. And I'm already helping on the career front with career coaching packages and an online course that you can take in your own time. I'm going to put the links in the show note. You can go and look at either of those things if you need help with your career. But I wanted to help more broadly. So I'm officially releasing coaching spots to help you in your life currently with any change or problems that you would like to work on. It could be linked to being overloaded and overwhelmed, being stressed out, experiencing issues with specific relationships, not having the balance or well-being that you desire, lacking confidence, having anxiety, needing boundaries. These are just some of the key areas I can help you with. All of these and more. Generally speaking, any issue that impacts your quality of life. This new offer is made up of 3 coaching sessions with myself, 1 hour each, and is priced to be affordable by most people at $300 Australian for the 3 sessions. You will not find similar quality of life coaching at this price. It is under my normal coaching rates, which I intentionally wanted to do in order to help people right now. So if you want to make a change this year, the ideal time is now. So go and visit the webpage that has all the details about this life coaching offer at www.careercatchup.com/lifecoaching in one word. You will find, I will link it in the show notes, and you can find all the details and you can book there. I don't know how long I will leave this offer open, depending on the uptake and depending on my capacity. So if you are thinking about it, don't wait. Go and take this step to change your life in 2021. So the website again is www.careercatchup.com/lifecoaching, and I'll put in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I wish you to tap into the teachings of 2021 now and to turn them into your own advantage over the next few months. Feel free to share this episode if it resonated with you, if you learned some really interesting insights, and share it along with the life coaching offer to anyone in your circles who might need this right now. Have an absolutely amazing week. Remember that life is good, it is in your favor, and you can do more than you think you can. Take care. I will speak with you soon. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.